Welcome to FM Thoughts, a podcast about Football Manager thoughts. I am JM Thoughts, and I'm joined today by Gamelegenddd. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, JM. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's quite late. We're recording, so there's always a risk that Frank will be running around screaming in the background. But otherwise, I think we'll be good. Hopefully, no cat disturbances this time. So, Gamelegenddd, you are a Twitch Football Manager streamer. And you've just uploaded a matchday vlog today, so you've thrown me off there. I don't know. Are you also a matchday vlogger now?
It was just because of I've always fancied doing it, and I thought the weekend that I did it, which was last weekend on the Saturday, was a good idea to do it. So got my dad to come along with us. I think it was my dad's birthday present. So and just filmed the game and going around with stuff. So I've got a video going out tomorrow as well, so yeah. Beautiful.
You are known by many names. Gamelegenddd is your handle. If you hear me slipping into referring to our illustrious guest as Gammy, or what other names do you sometimes get?
Gamey is the other one.
Right.
Which is just like the short version.
Yeah.
There is other stuff, but we won't go into that. But
yeah, we're keeping it family friendly.
I think I've been called anything once, because I literally said to one guy, just call me anything, and that's stuck with him. So, like I say, by my Twitch handle, I've got many names, but I do stream on Twitch.
Let's go with that. And you've been streaming this year an Icelandic save. Tell us about your Football Manager save.
So, I was struggling for ideas to come up with a save for FM23. I was having a bit of a difficulty. And yourself and Neil, who's a friend of the channel as well as yours, did suggest Iceland. And I took the plunge on it, and I decided to go with the team called IBV. And the interesting thing about IBV is they're an island just off the coast of Iceland. And they haven't really had much success in terms of recent years. And also they've had some like famous ex-Premier League players play there. They had like David James, and I think it was Herman Hreidarsson. He used to play for Portsmouth.
Oh yeah,
might be wrong. He was the manager when I came in. But I mean, originally it was going to be sort of like a build a nation save, but it sort of hasn't delved into that, and it's more of like making them the best team in Iceland. Whereas now with the save, I think we're 10 seasons in, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 12. And yeah, like now we're at the top and trying to basically go into improving the nation and improving the other clubs, and maybe just improve the quality of the team. But it's been a long haul save. I do tend to do these quite difficult saves in terms of the grind and stuff like that. So
one of the interesting things about this save is you kind of went in thinking it was build a nation, and then you were thinking maybe not, but now you're back in. I happen to know that you've had a few ups and downs with this save. You were very close to quitting at one point because it didn't really go to plan, did it? Do you want to tell us more about that?
No. Yeah, so first season we got Europe, and I was employing myself to play free at the back. And then the season after, it went horribly wrong, and I ended up getting relegated. And I think we also missed out on the FA Cup in Iceland as well. And I didn't really grasp until maybe the third or fourth season that free at the back in Iceland was just not working. So it took me a while to get around, and I think one of the main things about FM this year is the importance of a defensive midfielder. And I ended up going back to a 4-3-3. I think that changed it for me, because there was a time where I think we got into the second or third season, and I think we'd lost the playoffs against Selfros. I just went, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I think either we go to another Icelandic club or we just completely stop the save. But for some reason, I just decided to plough along for that one more season, and we did get back to the big time, which is the Pepsi Max Gamelegenddd League, the best sponsor of a football league in my opinion in Europe. But yeah, we got back to the big time, and then we've had, as you know, we've had a lot more success in recent years. Those first 4 or 5 years of pain / start successfully, and then back into pain, and then back into the big time. So
it's not often that you start with a club, get into Europe, then you find yourself relegated and then not
No.
bouncing back. Like, that's a very rare experience. And it's interesting that you pushed through that, because it must. I mean, does it make things feel a bit sweeter now?
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, I think we were prioritizing in that second season, like the Conference League, and I don't know if you know in Iceland or anybody who's listening, but all of the clubs start as semi-professional, and I think we're in the 12th season now, and we've made it a professional status. I think we were joint professional with a club called Vikingur, but they haven't had the greatest of successes in Europe, and we are the only professional club now, which makes me quite proud, but I think it's something that I need to try and improve in the last maybe 1 or 2 seasons that we've probably got left with IBV, in terms of trying to improve the nation as a whole rather than just me.
It's a funky little league. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how it works?
So I think it's updated, but for the one that I'm in at the moment, so there's 12 teams, and you play each other twice, as you usually would, and it's literally 22 games to decide who wins the league. And then you've also got another league, which is I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it's a second league, and you only have one automatic promotion in that, and I think it's 3 or 4 playoff games. And we got to the league in, I think, the 4th season via the playoffs. I mean, it was painful. It was a painful experience, but the problem with Iceland, and probably the problem with a nation like Iceland, is if you win the league, you go straight into a qualifier for Europe or Conference League, Europa League, and it's sort of not the end of the phase where you go straight into Europe and you get all the European money. You have to still slog on, and it's running from February to I think it's September. But if you get Europe, you get the October, November, December games in Europe. So if you kind of like a January to December league, that's your sort of, and you want to maybe go for something that's not in South America or any other sort of leagues around the world, or you want to try Europe, give Iceland a go. The only thing I would say, though, is my main pet peeve, 2 things with the Icelandic League that I've got a little bit of a pet peeve with. One, I can only get 25 numbers for football players, so I'm having to change numbers every game, which irritates the life out of me. And then the transfer windows are just really weirded out. I think one of them starts in February, and then you've got the summer window in July, and it doesn't work well. So if the Icelandic Premier League could improve that, that'd be great.
It's just another challenge, I guess, if people enjoy the craziness of it. It's such a tiny country, though, isn't it? Like most of the teams are based in the capital, Reykjavik, and they all share the same stadiums, don't they?
You've got about 3 or 4 teams that share the same stadium. Like, I think, for example, like Vikingur, which is the big team, and then Fylkir. I'm not sure about KR or KA, but you've definitely got like 3 or 4 teams sharing maybe 1 or 2 stadiums in the capital. So it's very condensed. But the good thing I think about the league as well is that you've got a lot of, although it's sort of condensed in Reykjavik, there's a lot of teams around the country like IBV. But I think IBV's the most unique location, I want to say. Excuse me.
If you Google it, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like just this rock in the ocean with a football stadium on it.
I'd love to go and visit it. I'd love to go and visit it one time.
Beautiful place, Iceland.
Yeah.
And you're nailing the pronunciations with that Geordie as well. It's that Viking, the Viking roots obviously helping you.
I don't usually nail pronunciations or general English, so I'll take that, Jim.
Was it? What was the other big team? Fylkir?
Fylkir.
Fylkir.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce that. And then there's also a team called Four that I've been calling Poor for the last 12 months.
Absolutely. A few of us who were involved in the Jaffa briefly did a network save in Iceland as well the season before. I think it's one of the reasons we recommended it to you, was sort of saying we'd had a bit of fun there, but it is not for the faint-hearted. And you do like a challenge, because your save in the previous FM was not particularly straightforward either, was it?
No, no. I did Red Star in Paris. So, for anyone who doesn't know them, they're probably, I'd arguably say they're the third team in Paris, but somebody will probably come and quote me and say they're not. It's this team, but yeah. So the challenge was to try and I always wanted to go back to France because I did a team in FM20 called Nimes Olympic, and I loved the save, and I love the French league, and I've made myself a commitment now that every year or two, or every 2 years, I'll be doing a save. Probably not on Twitch or YouTube, but like offline in France because I do like the league. It's a really fun league. If you look past PSG, but yeah. Anyway, going back on topic for a second there. Yeah, the goal basically was to make Red Star the best team in Paris, and it took us just like this one. It took us about 10 seasons. I mean, I think we ended up eventually getting into League One, but that wasn't half the problem. It was just trying to compete with them on a regular basis, and then in all the other teams, because you've obviously got Paris FC and then PSG, but then you've also got the big teams like Lyon and Rennes, and I could go on with a list of French clubs, but I won't. But yeah, I think that was another save where I sort of not necessarily give up, but I would have loved the feature continue it, if you know what I mean, which is going on in the next FM. Just because I just got to a stage where I'd beaten PSG in the league, and then I think the season before we came second or third or fourth, I can't remember off the top of my head, and we'd lost to Liverpool in the Champions League final, and it was devastating because it was like a last minute winner for Liverpool, and we could have won the Champions League and been on par with PSG when they'd won the Champions League in the save. But it was a really fun save. I enjoy it. If you've never managed in France, you should give it a go. It's a fun nation to do.
How does it compare managing a tiny team? I mean, let's think about, a lot of people do non-league teams in England. Let's do a comparison between a tiny team in a foreign country and taking them all the way to the top of what is a fairly established league versus taking a team that's a little bit further behind, but not, the gap between Vikinga and IBV is not as much as Red Star and Paris. But the league, obviously, is then a lot worse. Yeah, how do those two compare for you? Are they just different? Do you prefer one or the other?
I think for the challenge, it would probably be Iceland, but sort of the enjoyment was Red Star. The big difference you're going to have in Iceland compared to something like a non-league club is, okay, with Iceland, you're in the top two leagues, but you're not going to get the same amount of resources in terms of money as a non-league club making it through, or like a Red Star making it through the leagues and then casually getting, the increase in finances, the European money, the TV money. You just don't get that in Iceland unless you're in the Champions League or in the Europa League or the Conference, or if at least you're making the qualifiers, because the fact that you're not getting in directly is also a problem. But once you actually get to a league stage of one of the three competitions, you're pretty much in paradise. Like, we made the Champions League last year, Jim. I said to myself, and I said to a few other guys, we're sorted now. I think you get 12 million or something, and that'll be completely minor to somebody who's maybe managing in the Prem or another top five league. But for Iceland, it's like, we're sorted for 3 years now. We don't have to worry about wages, or we can improve facilities and stuff like that. And we're slowly getting to a stage now where we've made the Champions League twice in a row. It's sort of on the phase of, now we're starting to go like, yeah, let's maybe start developing our team better and then help try and develop the other clubs in the league better as well.
You're kind of looking to use that Champions League money to help the other clubs. And presumably, though, I mean, am I right in saying that your previous season you won everything, so you feel like you've almost completed the domestic side of this game?
Yeah, we've achieved it this season. So last season, I think we missed out. The one trophy we missed out on was the Iceland FA Cup, and it was just constantly either getting beating penalties in that, or 1-0 wins. Like, I remember the season we went down. I think we could have won the FA Cup in Iceland, but lost to a 1-0 in extra time, and it was like, I didn't want to say like necessarily like that sent us down, but it did not help at all with the morale. But But yeah, it was nice to finally get that sort of quadruple, and it sort of made me go like, right, okay, we're at a stage now where we're financially secure, we're making Europe. Let's try and sign some more foreign players because, as you know, GM, we're trying. I was trying specifically in the save because I always like to try and make stuff harder for me. I'm not a one that likes to make things easier, if you know what I mean. And I always like to try and challenge myself. But I always wanted with this save to try and increase or improve the Icelandic players coming through. So it was more of a case of like having a majority of the team be Icelandic and only a small portion be foreigners. But I think we're looking to change that now.
So you were trying to take your time, win domestically, but now is there a sense that you're at that stage where, in order to help the league, the rest of the league, you need to be bringing in players to loan out and increasing the competition in the league and making sure that you get that Champions League football to trickle that down to the rest of the league. Is that the rationale between bringing in more foreign players?
Yeah, mainly. I mean, I think now we're at a stage where we've got probably the best team in Iceland, and it's a case of, I don't want to say the league is a walk in the park, but this year we have dominated it from the start. I think we've only lost one game in the league, and I've kept it to myself that it would be 6 players until we won the eventual quadruple, and we have. So I think now is a case of, if we're going to sign players from Icelandic clubs that are Icelandic, we might have to pay top dollar for them or above market value, and then look to bring in foreign players, because you've got the rule in Scandinavia. I know Iceland's not Scandinavia, but where you have to have, I think it's the eight Icelandic players from your youth academy, and then 8 Icelandic players overall. But I think we can sort of mush that around now and sort of bring foreign players in. I mean, the youth intakes, as you know, since you've watched me, GM, aren't great in Iceland, and they certainly haven't been great for me. So it's a lot being a case of bringing the players in from other Icelandic clubs, but maybe being a bit cheeky and signing them on a free or trying to haggle them. And now I think it's a case of like, yeah, we got the money, so we're going to pay for you. So what we need to do is probably pay and make sure that they are getting the funds that they need to improve so they do well in Europe as well as us.
In the last Football Manager, FM 22, Iceland produced quite a lot of good youth players. Has that changed in FM 23? I know that the Icelandic Football Federation has been having some drama. I don't know if that's carried over into FM, because I always felt the youth intakes were pretty good in Iceland.
I don't know, because there's certain teams like you. I think you've got to take. I don't know if FM takes this into account, but we're a small team on an island just outside of Iceland. I don't know if FM takes into account location, because I think you'll definitely get a lot of players coming through in the likes of like Reykjavik and the major cities, but it may be quite hard to get world-class Icelandic players from a small island just off the coast of Iceland. So maybe that has something to do with it. But I mean, we've had some decent players come through. I mean, I remember one guy who was Northern Irish in my first intake, and he became Icelandic, so we got him for dual nationality. But he was one I kept around for a very long time. Probably sentimental, and probably one of the mistakes I made early on. But I needed quality players, and I needed foreign players, or to try and sell foreign players to make money. So yeah, I don't know when it comes to the youth intakes, because there's certain clubs that do produce very good youth intakes, and as a joke for me, I feel like that they are my sort of like second youth team in a way.
Yeah.
I think IA are prime examples. Yeah.
Well, for those that don't know, there are like a whole range of background factors that affect the youth intake. So I think people tend to look at the youth recruitment and the youth facilities, but the youth facilities is just like the quality, like how far along that potential ability they are when you get them. And then the youth intake is a factor. But in the back end of Football Manager, there's also, like it knows the population of the town that you're based in. You've got that appeal rating, like how appealing it is to live in that place. You've got like the game importance, like how important is is the sport to the country, the population of the country, the quality of the FA. So I guess it might be possible that the game is like, ain't nobody's coming through playing football on this island off the coast of an island in the middle of the ocean.
Yep.
So that
Maybe.
might be your downfall, but yeah, you gotta collar them at the plane in Keflavik and get them over.
Maybe we should do what Newcastle did when they were signing loads of French players and have somebody at the French embassy for Icelandic players, or somebody in Reykjavik for Icelandic players coming through, and we just have a nice little shop that sells like IBV trinkets and IBV posters and stuff like that to try and convince them to come and play in our youth academy.
You need to get an affiliation with some other country and steal all their stuff. I mean, remember when we were looking at Iceland, there is one of the clubs has an affiliation with a very strange thing. Is it like a football club in Uganda or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah. I can't remember the team, but it's definitely a club that's got
like
affiliation with Uganda, yeah.
And yeah, it's a bit. Maybe that's the way.
I mean, interestingly enough, Jim, I've noticed a lot of the clubs seem to have got. I'm sure one of the clubs, HK, has got an affiliate with West Brom, and that has to be one of the most random affiliates I've probably seen in the game. There are some random affiliates with Icelandic clubs. I mean, we had an affiliate, with Deportivo and Espanyol, and the problem that happened was we get a new chairman every year because of the elections. That's another problem as well in Iceland. So you might not get massive takeovers in Iceland. And he got rid of them completely. And since then, I've not been able to get a senior affiliate.
Yeah. No, I remember when I was in Iceland, as I say, for the network save briefly last year, the amount of times that you ask for a senior affiliate and you just don't get one, it just doesn't happen. And I was begging for one when I was doing Basel Black Stars in Switzerland. It would have been so useful in the second tier of Switzerland and that. And I just did a punt, clicked the button, and a week later they came back and said, "We found you a senior affiliate. How would you feel about Atletico Madrid? They'll let us loan players for free and they'll pay us $500,000 a year." And I was just like, yeah, it's fine. but also a bit of me was like, oh, why did I get this on a network save that's only lasting a season? Maybe we should have continued it. Can you imagine how transformational that would be for Icelandic football to have a senior affiliate paying you loads of money, giving you loans? Ridiculous.
That's what they need.
But then, yeah, I think it might have got cancelled because the director changes. Have you come afoul of the weird merged youth teams in Iceland? Has that not been a problem?
Oh God, yeah. I'm not a fan of the youth teams in Iceland. Yeah, another thing to go on with a semi-professional thing. So in England, you would have a reserve and under-19 team, right? In Iceland, you don't have that. You've got literally an under-19 team. And especially if you're semi-professional, there's nothing you can do with that team. So it's only when you become professional that you can actually get an under-19 team to develop your youth academy. So bear that in mind if you're thinking about doing an Iceland save.
They're sort of there, aren't they? The players are
They're sort of there, yeah.
They sort of play in this weird league, but you don't really have control over them, do you?
Yeah. And the weird thing is as well, especially since we're in Europe now, the under-19 squad, they play in the Champions League, but the squad that you mentioned where they sort of share it, they still play in the league, but they don't play in the Champions League.
Right.
So it's really weird.
Because they have this weird under-19s league where some of the teams are I guess because it's semi-pro, there's not many people in Iceland. So you'll have the senior teams will be IBV, Viking or whatever, but then you might have the IBV Vikinger combined youth team playing in the league with another youth team that's Valor combined with Keflavik or whatever, and so you're saying that they're playing in that weird league, but then some of them all go off and play in the Champions League under-19s as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And as well, I think there's also I think it was Breidablik, and they start off with 4 of those half teams, so they get a lot of decent youth intakes. I think, well, not youth intakes, but youth players coming through because they've got that many under-19 squads.
Absolutely.
I think there's sorry, Jim. I think there's there's 4 leagues of under-19 squads, and they've got 4 teams in, so it's mad.
Absolute madness. But overall, would you recommend Iceland? Is the madness
definitely.
fun? Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I don't know if this comes across, but I'm not one of these people that likes to do easy saves or like the usual sort of. And I haven't got any problem with people doing huge clubs, main saves, you know. But for me, that just doesn't interest me. And I was struggling quite a bit to come up with a team to do this year, to be honest. And I'm glad you and yourself and Neil recommended the save, because it's definitely been a grind. But one thing that I'm enjoying now is to see the effort sort of pay off, and I think you'll get that in Iceland. Maybe if you want to, if I can recommend a squad to your listeners, maybe if you want to try someone who, you know, you might get professionalism quite quick, Vikingur or, like I said, Breidablik. I mean, because they've got the better facilities or the better teams rather than an IBV. But if you want to challenge yourself, go ahead. Definitely, yeah. But I'd definitely give it a go. Like, it's definitely out of the box. It's not your sort of standard save. And I mean, if you're looking for a short season as well, I think they've upgraded it in the most recent update. So instead of 22 games, it's 27, and it splits into like a league between like a Denmark sort of style league where it splits into like a promotion, relegation sort of thing.
That's quite fun.
So
they also have that pre-season cup thing, don't they, as well?
Oh yeah, that was the League Cup. It always reminds me of. Have you ever played in Scotland and done the? It's not called it anymore. The Tunnocks Cup.
Premier Sports Cup, I believe.
That's it.
Got the semi-final of that on my next stream, so.
it's always been the Tunnocks Cup to me, but yeah, it's a bit like that where you play pretty much the 22 teams and you play each other once over 5 games against 5 teams, and then you got a semi-final and a final. But that was a really annoying tournament for about, I think, 5 seasons, and then we ended up winning it, and I was like, oh my god, we've won it.
Finally.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say it's becoming a regular occurrence now.
So if people want to follow along with your Icelandic adventure, what is the best way to do that?
So you can follow me on Twitch, and it's GameLegenddd with 3 Ds, because GameLegenddd with 1 D is taken. I'm also on Twitter with the same handle, and I'm also on YouTube. I haven't got any content in terms of FM on there, but as Jem mentioned earlier, I've started doing a vlog, but I am looking to potentially dig into it in terms of not this FM, but potentially the next FM. So if you're interested, please do consider giving us a follow or a like or whatever it is now. Over there.
Lovely, and I'm sure we'll have you back on in the next FM to hear your next adventure.
Yeah, I'll be delighted to come back, Jem. Thank you very much for having us on.
No worries, thank you. And there you go. There's Gamelegenddd with his rundown of Iceland for you. Thank you very much. Gamelegenddd there giving us a rundown on Iceland, and what a fun little league it is. If you've managed in a league like Iceland, maybe you've managed in Iceland itself, let us know, give us a feedback, give us a review, and let us know how it went. Did you have as much of a struggle as Gammy did? Have you conquered the heights and won the quadruple like Gammy did in the end? We'll be back next week with another guest sharing their Football Manager thoughts, and if you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, you can always tweet me at JameThoughts on Twitter, or hop on to the streams, twitch.tv/JameThoughts. Of course, check out GameLegenddd, twitch.tv/GameLegenddd with a double D and a triple D. He's a triple D man with a triple D. I will put a link to that in the show notes. Otherwise, nothing left to say other than thank you so much again for listening, and go well, friends.